Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. I bear witness openly that there is no deity or God worthy of worship except Allah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. And I bear witness openly that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Allah's slave servant and his messenger. And again, we greet you, assalamu alaikum. And we are glad to see the stone soldiers here today. You didn't let weather nor the Super Bowl stop you. So I guess what I'll do today is I have to try to accommodate you a little by taking some of the air out of the ball so you can catch it easier. Yeah, a little deflated so that we can catch this ball as easy today. The first thing I want to bring to your attention is utilizing what you have in your hand. We're going to digress a little bit from our regular lesson today, which we had started off going through the vocabulary and we were still in the Al-Fatiha. But we want to digress a little today in order to cover something that will enable you to make better use of what you have all the time. And then we'll go along, hopefully we can make better time later. A sister asked me, I should just say a believer, but it was a sister, that asked me a few weeks ago where an ayat was in the Quran. And I knew the ayat. I recited it to her, but I couldn't remember the verse. I couldn't remember the number, the chapter and verse. I know why now I didn't remember it, because when I learned it, I passed it off as insignificant as far as the verse and number. I no way I'm gonna forget this chapter and number, the chapter and verse. I thought, but I did, and so I thought, well, I'll look it up. So I went home and I got my Quran out. I went through 9 chapters, no scanning. And I said, I ain't even close. I ain't even got an idea. I thought if I started thumbing, I'd remember which chapters in it. And guess what? I thought I went, took a nap, and something said, you got a phone that's smarter than you. Google it. And so I Googled it. I didn't have to have all of the words. I just Googled it. I knew the Arabic. It says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum min nar. Oh, you who believe, save yourselves and your family, ahlikum, your people, your family, from the torment of the fire. Now, but I couldn't remember where it was. You know why I couldn't? You know why I didn't pay any attention? Usually if I'm going to have a verse like that, I'll know the verse and chapter. But guess what chapter is in? Chapter 66 and verse 66. How you going to forget 666? But I did. And I think that was so that Allah would lead me to remind you, just as some of you may be doing it already. But, sometimes you want to look, something come across your mind. I know you believe it, something come across your mind. Oh, I'm going to look that up. But you don't have the Quran handy right then, or maybe you're working. And then you may get home, and I was going to look something up, but I can't remember what it was I was going to look up. I know how I'm kin to y'all. I know how out of mind work. Our intentions are good, but I can't remember what it was I was going to look up. Well, you got your phone. And most of you have phones that are smarter than you. Mine a little bit smarter than me. Really, you know why it's a little smarter than me? It's really smarter than me because I got the Holy Quran on here. I got Sahih al-Bukhari on here. And I got the King James Version of the Bible on here. At a fingertip. All right, at a fingertip. So use that.
But you had to do it.
Oh yes, I had to do it. But it's easy. By the way, it's easy to do now. If you have a phone, all you do is just, I'm going to write it on the board here. You just Google. You just Google. You go to Quran. I mean, Quran is enough to get you there. Maybe Quran to recite or something. But if you can go to Quran, just a letter I. And you will see you can get it, the Quran, and hadith, free, no additional charge. It just loads your phone, or you may wind up, your phone may be slow like mine. My phone's so slow until I call somebody and I have to do this to try to find a signal, you know. but it's still working, and I'm not going to buy another one right now because I can't afford that i6 or whatever it is he got. All right, so I wanted to share that with you. That will save us a lot of time. Then also, sometimes you may want to look up in the Quran, but you're not. You know, you may not have access to it, but you have your phone with you. You may be sitting in the parking lot waiting for somebody or something. And so you can just go to your iPhone. Not my Android. Go to your phone and look it up right there. So I just wanted to share that with you. That's the first thing. All right. To utilize that which we have. But even if you didn't have the Quran on here, if you Google, like what I Googled on that ayat, instead of a whole thing, I just said, save yourselves and your families. And Google knew about it. Because in order for them to be Google and Wikipedia to be Wikipedia, they got to put all the knowledge that they can find in there. Now, sometimes you may find knowledge on something on Islam that needs correcting because they didn't know any better. But you'll be able to do that. I just wanted to share that with you. Now, the second thing I wanted to do was hopefully to help us to improve our understanding on da'wah, which is obligatory upon us, you know. We don't want to be like the Jews. Jesus went to the Jews and they say the Bible say went to the fig tree and he found no fruit there. So he said, cursed be the fig tree, all right, because they were not sharing their knowledge with the people, and they still don't. To prove me wrong, raise your hand, the one of you that's been invited to the synagogue. They don't invite you. That's the reason why Sammy Davis was such a joke when he decided he's going to be a Jew. Ain't nobody asked you to come there, boy. That's something you're doing on your own. All right. So, but we need to understand that it entails more than just telling somebody where the meetings are, come to the meeting, or even giving them a slip of paper with some information on it. That is good. Da'wah, this word da'wah, is also, the same word is used to refer to a lawsuit. The same word is used to refer to a lawsuit. All right? Now, make the connections between that, because that's what we have to do. We have to make connections. See, Allah tells us that in the Quran. He says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina." No, I'm sorry. He says, "Inna." I'm about to recite the wrong. "Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun." We have revealed it in Arabic Quran that you might make the connections. So we are constantly making connections. That's the point I'm making. We're constantly making connections. That's the beauty of the Arabic. You don't have that same privilege with the English words, because sometimes the translators will translate the same word to a different English word, and if you don't know what's happening, you won't even see the relationship. All right. So here's the connection between da'wah, meaning to invite people to the religion, and da'wah, the lawsuit. The lawyer who's presenting your case, he's inviting the judge and or the jury to your side, right? But does he get up, let's say he's defending you from some charges. Does the lawyer get up and say, "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client is innocent. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client is innocent. Your Honor," and just, I don't care how he ain't gonna go being all emphatic and yelling the same thing over and over again. What does he do? He presents information that will cause any rational-minded person to come to that conclusion. So if it was something that said, suppose that you were supposed to stuck up a store on 95th Street, and you got proof that you were in New York, or you were in Washington, D.C., that's really in Washington, D.C., with President Obama, and you got a newspaper showing that you were there with him. Then the newspaper is dated, and the meeting is the summary of the meeting that you were in there. He would present something like that. Then you have a plane ticket He would present that. And he wouldn't have to tell them you're innocent. They know that you couldn't have robbed no store on 95th Street at the 10 minutes after. And I mean 10 minutes after you're shown to be in Washington, D.C. or anything. You understand? He presents evidence. That's what we have to begin to do. Present evidence of our Islamic life. In our life. Now, here's one example that we're going to do today. My lesson was going to be short today anyway, because I wanted y'all to get a chance to get home and see the Super Bowl. But here, I got 2 ayahs on the board. I doubt it's any one of us except children that have not had some contact with Muslim businesses that are run by immigrants, because they're the ones that do the business in our community now. We're not doing business in our community, they're doing. And they hide from us their identity. They play like they don't. You can go in and give them the greetings. Assalamu alaikum. They act like they didn't hear you. It's time for dawah. That's right. So say, brother, you know what the Quran is? And Allah says in the Quran in 486. That's what this says here. 486. 486. It says, it says what? وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا. I want to read it. حَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَسِيبًا. Saying what? And when you are given, or when you are greeted with a greeting, or actually I'm going to break that down more than they just translate it as greeting. As a greeting, return it with an equal or better, or better greeting. Because, then it says, because Allah takes account, or He's Hasib. He takes account of all things. Now there's another ayah that was is just a general thing. But look at this word that's used for greeting. Hut-yee-tum. This is you here, tum. Hut-yee-tum. You know what that word hut-yee-tum comes from? Huh? Lively. That's right. It has to do with life. So it's not. So now the other one I got is dealing with salam, because that's what we think greeting. We think salam. But this is what does this say? This says when you. This is what this is saying. You know what this is saying? When someone greets you, in this greeting that's hut-yee-tum, it says, may you have a long and peaceful life. A long life. Now they greet you like that. Don't you greet them with anything less than that? You know. If somebody wishing you a long, peaceful life, hut-yee-tum, all right, then you are to go. This here be tahiyyati. You know, hey, all this is hay. All this is hay. That's it, which is the same word, you know, that we learned more about this word when Imam Mohammed explained to us that hayy ala salah meant more than just come to prayer. It meant come lively. Hay is life. To exist, all right? So if someone is wishing you a long, peaceful life, then you are to greet them with an equal or better greeting, all right? That's 486. No, that's the 6. 486. Looks like a 7, but that's the 6 in Arabic. 486. So that's, refer them to that. And remember, maybe I better write this verse up here so that you won't have any excuse for not knowing which verse and chapter. All right. 486. Refer them to it. And remember, you are right, because you're the customer. That's right. Don't let them bully you around, act like they don't hear you. If they want to deny they're Muslims, then make them deny it. Let them deny. That's if they want to deny it, it's not on you. But I don't. My wife, you know, she knew, so she's anxious to show off what she knows. We were down in the forest sitting this brother. When she found out how to give the greetings, so they got a little fast food place, you know. So she already knew him before I did, but she didn't know how to give the greetings. So I was walking the door behind her. She went there, you know, assalamu alaikum. They act like she didn't say that. I said, what's wrong with y'all? I said, don't you know you're supposed to return that greeting with an equal or better greeting? He started calling me sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he did.
When I was his age, I used to get that a lot.
Yeah.
When I was his age.
Yeah.
Because you be hurt.
Yeah.
They Muslim.
And she didn't know that they had the.
They don't mess with me.
No. Oh, listen. When she start walking that store, they greet her before she can give the greeting. Yeah. But the point I'm making is that while they are still doing things that they should not do, selling to people pork, but alcohol. But you know what they say about the pork, don't you? I had a brother tell me this way back when we still had the slaughterhouse on 39th Street. I went to take him some lamb legs over there. I was just before I started teaching at the school, and his name was Ali. He had a little restaurant, grocery store, and a restaurant over on Ashland. And so I had some lamb. What happened was it was during the Jewish season, so we had a lot of lamb legs because they only eat the front. I ain't gonna get into all that. You've had lessons on that. So we had a back of it. He used lamb legs for a shish kebab in the restaurant. So I just put them in my car, wrapped them in brown paper, took them on over. I knew he could use them. And so when I walked in there, I see Oscar Mayer. So I said, Ali, what is this? He told me, oh brother, I wear gloves. That's what they're saying. They're saying the same thing they say about this greeting. If you're not a Muslim, which is the next ayat that we're going to, you're not a Muslim, we don't, but the next one lets you know that you can't even tell them they're not a Muslim. This is 494. 4th chapter 94 verse. I'm going to write the English up here too. These are the two ayahs that specifically speak, and they both are in the 4th chapter. Guess why they're in the 4th chapter? Anybody got any idea? What's the name of the 4th chapter? Anybody know?
An-Nisa.
An-Nisa. All right, An-Nisa. Yeah, which means women. But I'm going to tell you something else.
Okay.
Which means women. Imam Mohammed pointed out this. And this is, I wouldn't have made this leap without it. I don't know whether you remember it or not, but he pointed out Nisa and Nasiya. They're right together, and both those are weak verbs. So the Nisa, that on the end is a vowel, and Nasiya is a that's a vowel, and they can exchange. And Nasiya means to forget. And Imam said etymologically, I don't know whether you use that word or not. Etymologically means the history of the word, in the history of the language. And I'm sure he must have done it with what are those books called? Lexicon. Okay, so, but I haven't done it myself, but I remember he says there's a relationship between Nasiya and Nisa. And that's why everything that they were, that's why it was, so while Nisa does mean the women, is also with that aspect of the Muslim life, of the Arab life that had been neglected, been posted. Also, Nisaya means to postpone. That's where they mistreated the women. They so all of the proper treatment for women and for people is all that. This is stuff that they had forgotten in Jahiliyyah. You see, they had forgotten. All right. So now, and I stand on that, even though I don't remember what day or month it was, but I remember he said that, and I know why now. You know, like I said, because the weak verb, nasa'a, the is weak, meaning it can change from to u. And matter of fact, another word for the root word for women is nusul, which is another form. So it's all three of your weak forms, e, and u, and they can be exchanged. And at one time, those words were all in the same family. All right, and the word for women means that in that case, now there's another word referring to women also, you know. Unsa. All right, and that's femininity. That's dealing with the femininity. But this is dealing with the fact that they had been forgotten. They had been mistreated, put off, neglected. That same word, nasiya, is used to refer to when they're talking about changing the months, the holy months for changing when they want to change them around from when let's put it off this year and that kind of thing. The same that term is used. I think it's the 2nd chapter and the 217 verses. One of the places where it's mentioned where they're talking about changing the months. All right, now. So then, did I turn it over? Yeah, I turned it over. Okay, so now I have it written here, and it's easy for me to read it here. I have both of them written here. It says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ضربتم في سبيل الله فتبينوا ولا تقولوا لمن ألقى إليكم السلام لست مؤمنا تبتغوا أرض حياة الدنيا فعند الله مغانم كثيرة كذلك كنتم من قبل فمن الله عليكم فتبينوا إن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. First of all, that last part, kabira, yes, sadaqallahu aliyah. Surely Allah, the Most High, the Mighty, has said the truth. Kabira is letting us know that Allah is a knower of all things, and He's well acquainted with them. Ta'meluna kabira. He knows, He's aware of what you do. This is ta'meluna is what you do, not ta'alimun. Ta'alimun is what you know, and ta'melun is what you do. All right. Now, this is the one where we are addressed as believers. And by the way, you know, we make so much out of our titles sometimes that we get misled ourselves. Because we always talk about we Muslim. It's better to be a believer.
Yeah, that's right.
It's better to be a believer. Because none of us are Muslim all the time. But because Allah is all-forgiving, most merciful, we get right back in His grace as soon as we realize we're wrong and ask astaghfirullah, ask for forgiveness, you know. But you can being a believer, that's what makes you remember that you're wrong. You see. All right. And by the way, that word Muslim comes from a word that lets you know that it's temporary. Salima. When you have a kasra on the middle letter of a word, that means that word is something of a temporary or accidental nature. So salima means to be safe temporarily. You're not safe all the time. That's why you got these scrambling to get it. We know when we break Allah's law, because it's mercy that we are not destroyed. Matter of fact, He says so, right? He said if He was to execute justice on us, judgment on us, wouldn't be a single one of us left on the face of the earth. Right. All right? Right? So it's because of His mercy that we're still here, not because we are so good. But here we are addressed as believers. Alhamdulillah, takbir, Allahu Akbar. Believer is something that is natural, God-given. The root word for believer is amunah. Amunah. And anytime you have a word that has u on the middle, amunah, I suppose that, now there is such a word as aminah, there is such a word as amanah. But they come from the original word amunah. All right. And amunah means to have faith, but amunah means to believe. All right. Everybody is a believer. Do you know that? Everybody is a believer. Now, they may not be a believer in the faith that we have, but they're believers. I can prove to you in in a minute. What it say? In no limit of time. He walk in his house. It's dark. He believe when he flip that switch, the light's gonna come on. Otherwise, he wouldn't bother with flipping it, right? He lay down at night. He have plans on what he's gonna do tomorrow because he believe he gonna get up. All right. So he believes. He believed that he work all week. They're gonna have a paycheck for him at the end of the week. If he didn't believe that, he couldn't stay there. But what we talk about, but this belief that we're talking, so I'm saying that everybody has a belief system. But we believe in the creator of the heavens and the earth. That's priority. Now that's when we say Allahu Akbar. That's what we're saying, that Allah has priority in our lives. It literally means Allah is greater. But if he's greater, then that means that's number one in our life, right? Yes, ma'am.
This morning I saw a cat. Something happened to a cat.
Uh-huh.
And I stopped and made dua.
Alhamdulillah. That's the law's creation. That's right. Alhamdulillah. All right. Okay, so now we dealt with believer. Oh, by the way, before I finish that, I'm looking. I haven't found it yet. If you find it, you let me know. I haven't found anywhere in the Quran. I've read it over more than one time, and I'm going to keep reading it over more. Keep on. But I haven't found yet where Allah addresses us as Muslims. He refers to us as Muslims. But even in that reference, it's really not the title Muslim, but it's a condition. Like they said, die not, like I said, Allah says, die not except. The word there's Muslim, but the translators said, die not except in the faith. Because it really is referring to, so, but he refers to us as Muslim, but he addresses us as either nas or as believers. All right? And the two key times that I want to do, and then I'm going to go on real quickly. The two key times in viewing this from this perspective, he addresses us as nas in the 2nd chapter and the 21st verse. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakumul ladhi khalaqakum wal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O mankind, worship your God, your Lord, who created you and those before you. La'allakum tattaqun. That you might learn, at that time said that you might learn righteousness. Now the same la'allakum tattaqun is in the 183rd verse of the same chapter, 2nd chapter and the 183rd verse. And there he addresses us as believers. He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum siyamun kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Now he addresses us as believers, but he tells us the same thing. We have created, that you are created. He changes the use of Allah, changes to say that you may learn self-restraint. And ain't nothing bad about that definition, about that translation, because if you learn self-restraint, you will be righteous. You see, but the whole thing is God consciousness. That's why He has created us to give us the chance to be God conscious. He didn't say that you got to be God. Maybe give you a chance. All right, give you a chance to be God conscious. So both mankind and when we elevate it to believers, we are still the same purpose in life. All right, and that is to be God conscious. All right, let us go on now. It says, either darabtum. Some of you heard, if you didn't hear, you heard about the nikah, the wedding ceremony that we did here. And we mentioned the ayat that has daraba in it. And it's concerning your wives when they don't obey you. And the translation says that you to beat them lightly. This is the same word, darabtum, here. But it ain't got nothing to do with beating nobody. So I explained to that brother, hope he ain't hit that sister car. I explained to him that this term here says, if you read the 4th chapter and the 94th verse, you will see it says, when you are going about in Allah's way, fi sabilillah, in Allah's way, when you're going about. And that's what I told them in the nikah ceremony. In other words, that strong move that you're supposed to take if y'all can't come in, is to walk away. So, don't you hit them? I remember Imam Mohammed said they used to have to police the situation, but they don't have to do that now because sister can get some hot grease and put on you. Grits or something. That's right. All right. So, but here he translates. That's what I want you to look it up. He doesn't translate as beating anybody. It says when you go about, I mean you leave and going out in Allah's way, and you are given and you come to people and you say, he said, do not say to one who says to you, alaykum salam, who says to you, peace, salam. You don't say, lesta mu'mina. Lesta means less means not, and ta is you. So lesta mu'mina, that's saying you're not a Muslim. I'm sorry, you're not a believer. You're not a believer. You're not supposed to say that. So these are the two ayahs that I'd say that we could upgrade our status and give ourselves more dignity. You don't have to go in there and get that hot fish and then do what they act like, like well, they don't know me. No, you know them. Make them put up or shut up. They either acknowledge you by giving you the proper greetings, or they deny that they're Muslim. If they deny that they're Muslim, that's on them. No, that's on them. And all of them are not Muslims. I know that all of them are not Muslim. All right. Well, you mean I used up that time after all? I thought I wasn't going to have enough time to get it. But anyway, those are the two ayahs. 4th chapter and the 86th verse, and the 4th chapter and the 94th verse. Those are ayahs, two ayahs. And that 94th one, that's the one concerning peace. Assalamu alaikum. If they're saying to themselves, I don't have to return the greeting to you because you're not a believer, this ayat says you can't say that. You're not supposed to say that. All right. So that's the one. The other one is beautiful ayat, also one that says when you're out there and people say they wish you a long and peaceful life. You should say that back to them. I wish you a long and peaceful life. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. All right, give them all of it. But anyway, thank you very much. And next month, inshallah, we'll get back to our vocabulary. But I wanted to just remind you, use what we have. You know, we got these phones, and they have the. They don't think that I was about to think of the guy's name that in 1973 came up with the cell phone. Can't think of his name right now, but I did have his name. Don't think that he did that on his own. Alam ta'alam anna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Don't you know Allah got power over everything? Allah let him come up with that cell phone, with that cell phone. It was so big then he had to make a muscle carrying it, you know. But now they got it down so nice and neat and everything. But it's more powerful and you can do more with it. So use it. Because this belongs to Allah too. This belongs to Allah. And they are using Allah's media, the airwaves, the ether in there. That all belongs to Allah. And just because they have been able to channel it and render a service, you use that service. You're paying for it anyway. Put your Quran on there. Put the Hadith on there. Now, you have to go to Muslim Pro if you want Yusuf Ali's translation. But they have another translation. And by the way, you can change translations without having to download it again. But it gives you instruction on how to download, just pushing buttons, you know. And ain't nothing complicated about it. You do not have to be Abdul Rashid Akbar in order to do this, all right? Don't let him tell you that. He be trying to fool y'all. All right. I just thought I had to jam you one time, brother. All right. It's simple enough. I can do it. If it's simple enough, I can do it. You know you can do it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.